There's something psychologists can't quite explain about people who grew up in the 1970s. If you're part of this generation, your brain was wired during a moment in history that will never come again. A strange intersection of complete freedom and genuine responsibility. And here's what makes it fascinating. When 70s kids look at today's world, they don't get angry. They just smile quietly, because they experienced something that shaped them in ways modern childhood never could. They say things like, "We grew up drinking from garden hoses and came home when the streetlights came on. We were half civilized, half feral, and it was perfect." So what exactly happened to your brain during those years? And why does it make you fundamentally different today? The first trait researchers identify is self-generated purpose. It all started with one phrase every 70s kid remembers: "Go find something to do, or I'll find something for you to do." You knew exactly what that meant. Complain about being bored, and suddenly you were washing dishes. So you learned fast. Figure it out yourself. Studies on unstructured childhood show that children who had to create their own entertainment developed significantly stronger executive function and creativity. You weren't given activities. You weren't scheduled. You had to invent your entire day from nothing. This is why you spent hours reading, exploring on your bike, or building forts in the woods. Your brain learned something modern childhoods completely skip: how to generate meaning from emptiness. That explains your creativity, but not your supernatural calm in chaos. That comes from adaptive risk calibration. You grew up climbing trees that were definitely too high. Riding bikes without helmets. Throwing rocks at each other. Setting off fireworks in questionable places. Every scraped knee, every close call was teaching your nervous system something crucial. Research shows that children who experienced physical risk in play developed better threat assessment and lower anxiety as adults. Your brain learned the difference between actual danger and manageable risk by living it. You broke bones. You got scars. And those felt like medals with stories. This is why you can walk into a crisis and just start solving it while everyone else panics. But here's where it gets deeper. You carry what researchers call comfortable solitude capacity. You spent hours alone listening to music. You explored by yourself. You sat and thought. Not because you were lonely, but because there was no screen demanding attention every 3 seconds. Studies on pre-digital childhood found that people who grew up before constant connectivity show significantly less anxiety when alone with their thoughts. Recent research had participants choose mild electric shocks over sitting quietly for 15 minutes. You'd find that ridiculous. You learned early that boredom isn't an emergency. This is why you can wait in line without losing your mind. The fourth trait is analog patience. You waited for your favorite show once a week. No binge watching. You took photos and waited days to see if they turned out. You wanted to talk to someone. You memorized their phone number and hoped they were home. Research on delayed gratification shows that people who grew up waiting for things have better impulse control and stronger relationships. Your entire childhood was training in patience that modern life actively destroys. This is why instant gratification doesn't satisfy you like it does younger generations. And here's the trait that ties everything together: unsupervised autonomy wiring. At 8 years old, you left the house in the morning with one rule. Be back before the streetlights come on. Nobody knew where you were. Nobody tracked you. You rode your bike miles from home. You explored neighborhoods you'd never seen. A stranger might offer you lemonade. Today that would mean police calls. Back then it was Tuesday. Research shows that children with freedom of movement developed stronger internal motivation and decision-making skills. You had to assess situations and deal with consequences yourself. Your parents weren't your friends. They were the authority. And they trusted you to be competent. There's something else. You were raised by parents who survived World War II or were born right after it. You watched people who knew real fear, real sacrifice. They didn't complain. They survived. And they passed that survival mindset to you without trying. This is why you matured earlier. If something broke, you fixed it. If something went wrong, you adapted. The help was you. Every time you feel out of place in today's world, remember this: you're not outdated. You're carrying forward capabilities that are going extinct. The independence that looks like coldness? That's competence. The comfort with silence that looks antisocial? That's depth. The ability to wait that looks like apathy? That's discipline. You're the bridge generation. One foot in the old world where everything was slow and real. One foot in the new world where everything is fast and digital. You carry the memory of life with no internet, no screens, no constant noise. Most 70s kids will tell you, we lived through the best decade to be a kid. And they're right. For a brief moment in history, childhood was both completely free and genuinely formative. You experienced something that doesn't exist anymore. A world where kids were civilized and feral at the same time. Drop a comment if you're a 70s kid who thinks it was the best era to grow up. And if you want more content like this, hit subscribe. We're just getting started.